there are some things in our lives that we can all identify with. And in this vein, if anyone told you that you will be where you are some years back, probably you will not have believed them. If someone told me that I will be living in my own house and having my own family some time back, especially when I was going through a downtime, probably I wouldn't have believed them. And that's how the world of possibilities is. The world of possibilities is structured in such a way that it negates the fact that you're going through a tough and tumble. But possibility is just possibility, regardless of what we're facing at the moment. And that's why I want us to be very careful when we're entering into this new decade. And I want us to continue talking about strategically positioning ourselves for the better, so that we can be the best possible versions of ourselves in this new decade. Keep it locked.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
So I'm targeting the people who are in this valley of life where dreaming is a luxury. Dreaming is like punishment. Dreaming is like something that is never going to happen. It's something that you don't even want to look forward to, because you're going in a downtrend, because you are in darkness. Maybe you're in dire straits. Maybe you're in a place where you're constricted a lot. And it becomes so difficult for you to lift your head up and to think of the better possibilities, the better future that can come to pass one way or another in your life. See, the thing is that the dreams that we do have and the possibilities that we do have, they are not necessarily connected to the present moment. They can be so detached from the present moment that we'll be shocked. In other words, if I told you that you can be the best version of yourself when you're going through a tough and a tumble situation, it is possible for you not to believe me. But that does not take away the power of the possibility. The power of the possibility and the potential of the possibility, it is going to still be there. And that's why I want us to treat ourselves a bit in having hope, having strategic hope, having possibilities, and basically starting to work out our dreams. I've been telling you not to focus on your resolutions, not to start writing down your resolutions. I've been telling you to start dreaming. In the episode yesterday, we talked about dreaming, how you can be able to dream. We saw 4 different ways in which you can be able to dream. But I want us to start doubling in. I want us to start now getting our hands on paper, and I want our brains to get involved and to get engaged. Remember, we are strategically positioning ourselves for the best possible outcome in this new decade. In other words, we want to have a best decade that we've ever had. If anything, we've created a foundation upon which the rest of our lives is going to scale and fly and just simmer and sizzle in this decade between 2020 and 2030. So we've got to get out of the clouds now. Yesterday we were in the clouds and we were dreaming and so on, and we can still stay there. But let me say this, that these possibilities have to be attracted in our lives through the process of strategic planning and dreaming and visioning for our lives. Anything that you want to become reality, anything that you want to focus on, anything that you want to channel your energies on, has to be something that you are actually bringing in the view of your dreams, in the field of your dreams. Maybe it's a possibility in one area or another. We saw about all those 8 areas yesterday. It is a possibility for it to happen when we start bringing it into the fore. And today I'm going to draw from one of the best teachers I've ever had, teaching about goals. This man, let me tell you a story about him. I've shared his story here on this podcast very many times. The name is Peter J. Daniels. Peter J. Daniels was raised in Australia, and he remembers going to school and his teacher telling him that he cannot be educated and he's never gonna amount to anything, and so on and so forth. And at 26 years of age, he was a dropout at school. He was married, yes, and he was a bricklayer. And one of the biggest dreams that he had was to be a championship boxer. And then one day he goes into this Billy Graham crusade, and Billy Graham happened to mention in passing that God made everyone the same, as in everyone is the same before God. There is no one who is special. There's no one who is highly regarded than another in the eyes of God, that we were all the same. And in that moment in time, something started happening in Peter J. Daniels' mind and heart, and his eyes were basically, they popped open. His eyes of understanding popped open, and he saw the possibility that his life could amount to, that he could become a multi-million business, he could become a big-time businessman, he could become wealthy, and so on. At that moment in time, when the dream came, he started the act of creation. In other words, he started working on himself, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about later on in the podcast. Dreaming is one part, and it is serious business, but working hard towards the dream, it is also another serious business. So Peter J. Daniels got to work and bought dictionaries and started reading, understanding English, started reading mathematics, started reading economics, started reading commerce and industry, and started reading about biographies, thousands and thousands of biographies of the great men and women in this world. And he started changing his mind, and he had noticed that his mind could be able to stretch, and his mind is a muscle. And he says that he is glad he did not have the misfortune of going into university. I don't know what that means, but I just quoted him. So he became, at the end of the day, one of the wealthiest people in the country of Australia. As I speak today, he could be 80, 90 years of age, and so on. I'm not so sure. But I heard this man through one of my mentors who was speaking about him. This is Mike Murdoch. And so I went and I Googled, who is this Peter J. Daniels? And when I Googled, I started looking at various episodes and various videos that Peter J. Daniels either had shot or was involved in, and I came across one of the best goal-setting teachings I've ever seen. And I will encourage you to go to Google and you just Google Peter J. Daniels, or go to YouTube and look for Peter J. Daniels. And so in today's episode, I want us to start getting practical in this idea of looking at the new decade and quantifying some things that we want our lives to turn out. You might be in dire straits today. You might be going through a bleak moment where tomorrow doesn't even look like it is a promise. It looks like tomorrow is a trudge. It looks like even today is a burden. It looks like living is not something fun anymore. It looks like there is no possibilities around you. See, you're the greatest candidate for dreaming today. Your dream and your possibility for your future cannot be watered down by this moment. And so I encourage us to dive in and to push ourselves and to commit ourselves once more against the odds that we're facing today, and dream anew. Dream of the possibilities that can become of us. And so Peter J. Daniels has this teaching that is absolutely out of this world, and I'm going to share with you 3 or 4 things out of it. The first thing that he instructs us to do is that we desire, first of all, anything that we want that is materialistic. And he uses these ones to tell us that you can actually transfer from the material to the spiritual to the intellectual and so on and so forth. So let's just focus on the materialistic things. What are the 3 important things that you wanted? If you were to get them, and if there was no limitation on them, looking at the whole of your life, what would you document to be the 3 greatest needs that you wanted? Is it money? Is it, that's materialistic? Is it a house? Is it land? Is it a business? What are those 3 things that you would want? And in this exercise, I've seen him do it very many times. This exercise, sometimes it catches people off guard, because very many people do not know how to dream, how to quantify what they really do want. So the first thing is to identify those 3 things that you want. Sit down. Remember your pen and paper. Remember your dream book. Sit down and write those 3 major things that if there was a God, and God is there, and you were to ask him anything, what would be those 3 things that you will request for? Enumerate them. 1, 2, and 3. Take some time with this, because it is important. What we're doing right now, we are learning to dream, because I've realized that very many people do not know what dreams are really. Very many people do not know how to dream, and we have to teach ourselves and stretch our minds, because we've been instructed not to be curious. We've been instructed to cram things instead of exploring things with our minds. So focus on your heart and focus on your mind, and right now look at what are the 3 things that you will want. What are the 3 materialistic things that you will want? Take some time and think through. They've got to be as big and as stretching as possible. Alright? Imagine that is anything. Anything that you do write down, like we said yesterday, it is going to come to pass. What will be those 3 things? Take some time, think it through, and document them. Alright. After you've done that, we're going to move to the next exercise, the next level. This is simple. What if you were to choose just 1 out of the 3? What will you do? Which one will you drop, and which one will you select? Just one. That is the power of focus. What if you were to select just 1? What will you select out of those 3? What are we doing in the process? In the process, we are doing what we call prioritizing. We're trying to prioritize what is important, what comes number 1, what comes number 2. In terms of our dreams themselves, what is the most important dream? All right. Now, after you've done that, we are going to zero in on that one thing that you do desire. For some people, it is a business. For some people, it is money. For some people, it is real estate, and so on and so forth. But let's ask ourselves this question. If we were to get it in our lifetime, and we liquidate it into an amount of money, or whatever size it is that we want for that materialistic thing, how big do we want it to be? Put a number on it. Don't say I want to be blessed so much, or I want unlimited. I heard a lady saying she wants unlimited money. There is nothing called unlimited. If you say unlimited, there is no target on it. There is no possibility for it coming to fruition, because you don't know what it is. So the third thing that we're doing is to quantify what the dream is. Let's say it's money. And yesterday, by the way, if you listen to yesterday's podcast, I gave you a challenge of budgeting for $100 million. I am not so sure if you're through that challenge yet. But if you do that challenge, you revolutionize your thinking. But anyway, back to today. What figure will it be? One figure for your entire life. If you are to use it for giving, for construction of your projects, and for travel, and for this and that, what would that amount be? It is up to you. And that's normally the interesting part. It is always going to be up to you, up to me. There is no right or wrong answer. It is like we've been given a blank canvas, and whatever it is we want to paint on that canvas, it is acceptable. So there we go. What amount would it be? That is how we start engaging our mind in this kind of serious thinking. And I want to tell you this, that it is important that these kind of exercises are done on a weekly basis. Every time you're going to do your timetable, like we talked about, you're doing this exercise also. This is what happens. Your mind starts becoming active. The moment you give your mind something to work with, the mind is going to reward you. We have a vast, biggest engine in our lives, which is our minds and our brains. We have the conscious and the subconscious, and once they are pricked, you'll be shocked of the things that will start coming into your life, and don't be scared to write those things down. So we are challenging the dream machine. We're tuning in the dream machine inside of our lives. And after we've done that, ladies and gentlemen, we now have some fodder, something that we can work with. And let me tell you this, one of my definitions of success that I coined some 10 years back, it is that success is the continuous mastery over challenges. The moment you have your dream, you've prioritized it and you've quantified it, the next thing that you're going to experience is a challenge to bringing that dream to fruition. It goes without saying. And that's why we need to learn to embrace these challenges, because we have a dream. And the problem is that sometimes our mind just wants us to be comfortable, doesn't want us to face any uncomfort, any discomfort, any challenge. And that's why dreaming, ladies and gentlemen, is something that many people do not do, because it is tasking, it is involving, it is laborious. And I haven't even started talking about planning. Okay, maybe I've started a little bit. We'll continue talking about planning in the succeeding episodes, but this is just about dreaming. So today I'm thinking that you have your 3 good materialistic goals, things that you desire to have. You prioritize them to get one, which is something that you really must desire to have, and then you have finally a quantity on it. Believe me, this is one of the biggest, most rewarding exercises you can do at the beginning of this decade. You're going to look back at this exercise, if you've done it, you're going to look back at it 10 years from today in 2030, and you'll be grateful that you actually did this. The problem is we always coast around life without having any direction, without having anything that is quantifiable, anything that is actually written down that is our true north. And this exercise is supposed to give you further clarity on your true north. I hope it helps you even as you're doing it. And I'm coming to a close of this episode today. It is important for you to do this exercise. Until tomorrow, bye-bye. A special shout out to my mentor Jeffrey Howard of Visionary Business University, found at mastermindmentor.com, who has graciously provided me with the soundtrack and the introductory track to this podcast. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.